All industries I have worked for and seen around the world, in some way or form, are still clinging on to this old ancient concept. But this concept is primarily focused at creating winners in the marketplace. Hence the title of the book they wrote, Discipline of Market Leaders. And they have one simple indicator for that success, and that is profit. So far, governments around the world have actively supported this old profit model because it meant happy consumers, and happy consumers means happy voters. However, this is changing rapidly. In 2019 in the Netherlands, a group of people successfully prosecuted the Dutch government to force them to speed up the legislation to lower greenhouse emissions. This unique lawsuit sparked climate cases against government now in several other countries. And currently, 68 of these climate cases are being held against national governments around the world. The current poly-crisis require a new fundament, a new foundation, a new basis, or what you can call a new paradigm. And for this, I developed the Vitality Wheel. These new foundations need to be based on new value creation principles. Profit alone cannot be the only driving force for industries anymore. Therefore, the Vitality Wheel contains the elements the global industry needs to embrace to survive in the 21st century. First of all, ambition at the center. This needs to reflect much more than profit. It must reflect purpose. And in our last week's session with Tony, he explained that excellently. Second is solution and footprint. We need fossil-free products with a sustainable regional value chain. The third element is talent and innovation, the enablers for any business to survive, but with new principles. A human is no resource. A human is your social capital. Innovation should be constant. If the world around your company is changing faster than your own company, the end is near. Next slide, please, Arthur. So what are global industries doing around the world? Are they changing their strategies and behaviors? And what are governments and what are capital markets doing actually? Here's a real-life example from the global automotive industry. On the left side, you see the accumulation of the sales of all automobile manufacturers around the world, which are fossil-based, and they are around 1,600 billion euros of sales. And the small one on the second is Tesla, with around 70 billion of sales. The third bar shows the market value on the stock exchange of all these fossil-based manufacturers. And their earnings and their market value is around 6 times their annual earnings. And you see the market value of the one fossil-free automotive industry company on the right. With their sales of 70 billion, they have a market value currently of around 700 billion euros. So my conclusion is, and my observation is, that the capital markets, they see the value of fossil-free. The fossil-based industry, they currently generate 100 billion profit, but their market value is expected to last only around 5-6 years. And the fossil-free production of electric cars is expected by the capital markets to last at least 60 years. So in the capital markets, new fossil-free industries are destroying old fossil-based industries. Next slide, please, Arthur. So humankind has in fact entered the 5th industrial revolution. The EU is actively promoting this new strategy with what they call Industry 5.0. And the elements you see on the left are incorporated also in the Vitality Wheel you saw in the previous slide. So what's next? What are the options for global manufacturing industries? In fact, I see 3 possible ways forward. The first one I call the graveyard option. With this option, business of countries choose to take advantage of their current business model based on fossil fuels as long as society allows them to do so. For me, the examples are the oil and gas companies, including all the industries around them. Companies like Shell, BP, and ExxonMobil are actively pursuing this strategy and promote it. Shell currently announced that they will even sell their green energy division because its profitability is too low compared to the fossil-based alternatives. And also countries with oil and gas as main income, like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, but also Russia, they all know their resources will be gone in around 50 years and they try to take the most of what they can still have. That's the graveyard option. Second option is what I call split and focus. Several businesses are pursuing this. A nice example of a strategy like this is the automotive company Renault. Last year, they've split up their company in two businesses and gave it also two names. For the fossil-based activities, they call their business Horse, from horsepower. And the other business they called Ampere, for all the fossil-free electric-based activities. So that's a second strategy, split and focus. The third one is the most complex and most costly, and that is rebuild. Redesign and reconstruct your current supply chains. The global textile business is a front runner in this. H&M and Primark, they have already changed their supply chains because consumers do not want to buy clothes made in Asian sweatshops and child labor. And also large food industries are trying to make this move in this direction. Companies like Unilever and Danone, they all had CEOs who wanted to embrace this new strategy. But as we speak, their shareholders are not always happy with that because profitability is lower. Both CEOs of Unilever and Danone, they've recently been removed because they choose planet over profit. So this is a difficult model. So what will happen with all these industries who are now feeding the world and manufacturing stuff for all humans? Well, I'm not a prophet, but I will end this presentation with two quotes. One is from Geert Mak, a famous Dutch historian, who said, "Never, never will the future look like today." And my last quote is, "The best way to predict your future is to create it." Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gerard Ekhart. I appreciate the deep insights that you have shared. Right now, we shall be going over to ask Arthur van Gemert to reflect on what has been shared. But before that, after that happens, we will take some questions from the audience. Arthur?
Hi, okay. Thank you for trying to pronounce my name right. The effort is appreciated. It is Arthur van Gemert. Gerard, thank you for your presentation. The people that I admire most are the ones that swim upstream. So take a different course than the mainstream. But the challenge there is, of course, to stay optimistic. That's the hard part of it. You will be heard better. First, I will introduce myself very short. I have a background in production logistics. I've been a tutor and fellow for APIX, the American Production and Inventory Control Society, for 20 years or so. And I've worked in several production companies, like an aluminium foundry, producer of pressure switches for washing machines, and industry like that. And currently, like a computer industry, I've worked there also. And over time, I saw, why do I look at you? Let me change view. Oh, okay. over time, I saw these industry moving away, and I lost a job on several occasions. First to Singapore and Japan. I had no trouble with that because they had production methods that were just smarter, with Kaizen, monokuri, lean, eliminate waste, continuous improvement, and philosophies like that.
Yep.
But later we lost business to Eastern Europe because of lower wages, and currently we lose almost everything to China and India, but also for the wrong reason, I think. So that I think that's there is some unfair business going on. You should pay your people well. So I would have hoped some trade barriers to compensate for the difference in pay would have helped enormously. In the Netherlands, we moved to high-tech finance and distribution, but this, of course, will create a dependency and a vulnerability, like Gerard put that so eloquently. We need food and stuff. If we don't produce it, we have to buy it, and we have to deliver something in return.
Correct.
So that will that I see that as a threat in the near future. The first signs of that we already see. So when we look at sustainability, which is the main part, we are polluting the earth, we are using the earth. Local production is the first thing we should think of. So all this global trading, we should reevaluate that and look, why do we need 16 kinds of olive oil in the shop? I think it's rather perverted, this consumption industry. When I order a small LED light from some online shop, I'm sure it comes from China, but it is at the same time it is very fast here. So this is all we are using vulnerable resources, and we use them. Well, we just use them as if they are free. They are not. So basically, the main, I'm looking for solutions, Gerard, and you. And I don't want to be too gloomy, and so something like including the cost of nature, including the cost of pollution, including the cost of torturing animals and things like that. And the emission of PFAS and things like that. These should all be priced in. I think then we stick to an economic capitalistic principle, but so then I think that is one of the best economic principles, I think. But we should correct the harsh sides of this. That will prevent us to become obese and just use all the resources. And one thing Gerard said, well, people are not resources, but people are social capital, and that's of course is a main shift in thinking. But of course, we should try to implement this, because currently the world is not a very nice place for poor people and for children in underdeveloped countries, I think. So that's my first reflection.
Yeah. Well, talking about solutions, if I can comment, Arthur, I think one of the what makes me very happy is that indeed technology is helping us to replace humans as a resource. So the amount of labor cost, which is in, if you look at your mobile phone, And you know how many labor cost in fact is in there? It's around 1.5%. So the element of labor finally is being removed from the cost of production. And if you know, and as you know, in agriculture, that's already the case. There's hardly any labor in the production of food anymore because it is industrialized. The question always is, what about over-industrialization and over-usage? But that is, as you already said, that's human behavior. This is what we want. Do you want to make your own stuff, or do you want other people to do it? And I still think specifically in Western Europe and in developing countries, the education level of people is generating the possibilities to create those innovations within companies. So as long as the human capital and the people are available with the innovation initiatives supported by the government, I think there are tremendous amount of opportunities to grab the industry and bring it back to the levels which make it viable for a country to produce their own stuff. And as an example, in Holland, less than 1 out of 10 people work in manufacturing, but our neighbor in Germany, it's double, because the government, together with the industry, made it possible to find the best combination of production and consumption. And I think there, a cooperation between business life, government, and society will help us to make those decisions. But it also depends on our own behavior. Do we want to do this?
And should we do it individually, or should government be involved with legislation, taxes, things like that?
I don't think with these type of forces anybody can do this individually. This has to be a joint activity. This has to be what someone called it the triple helix, the combination of business life, government, and knowledge institutions, also like our school. The combination of those three should make it possible to initiate innovations which allow us to produce our own activities and goods. And with technology available, we don't need to do this by the lowest cost of labor. We can do this with new technologies and grab the opportunities. Why are Tesla factories not in Europe? Why are they not in the lowest cost area? They are in Germany, which is one of the highest cost countries, simply because the combination of technology, knowledge, and location is best. So the old low cost strategy finally is moving away, and we can take advantage of that.
Thank you very much, Arthur, and thank you, Gerard. We're going to open the floor for some questions right now. If you have a question, please signify by raising your hand using the reactions button to raise your hand, and so that we can have some order. I see one question from Duke. Please, Duke, could you unmute and ask your question? Also, we'll appreciate if you could show your picture as well. After Duke, we would have a question from Gideon. But Duke and Gideon, please get ready. Duke, over to you. Yes, please.
Yeah, good morning. Still navigating my way to the office. I'm joined while I'm driving. I hope everyone can hear me well. To introduce myself, I'm the DBA student, 2003 student, based in Johannesburg in South Africa. Of course, what interested me in this topic around change, this is what I'm investigating as my research project. So it's quite interesting. Gerard, coming back to the topic. Yes, I agree that there should be partnerships between government, business, to find, workable solutions and harmonize the AI, introduction of AI and so on. My question is, developing countries like ours here in South Africa, which has a relatively low, I'm generalizing here, but there are facts at the same time, which has a relatively low education levels. It has, it's kind of a a socialist state.
Mhm.
It's kind of a socialism economic system, and it's kind of labor intensive. You know, there's a big push from number of stakeholders, government, labor, as trade unions. They have a huge say here. And we're still far behind in developing reforms, just like a country like Germany that you have referred to. How would you advise us as the way forward? I mean, there's one case study I looked at 3 or 4 years ago, which involves VW. They wanted to transform their big plant here in South Africa, in Port Elizabeth. There was pushback, not supported by the unions. And the best thing that they did was to shift the whole new operations towards east of Africa. You know, in that way, that means South Africa lost a potential investment, lost jobs, and so on, because of this inflexibility that we have as a developing country. Yeah, I hope you got my point.
Yes, yes. Excellent question, and of course a difficult one. But my suggestion, to be honest, is quite simple. And you gave the answer with your question yourself. The prime focus should be on education. The prime focus should be on human development. In any developing country, and also Holland has been a developing country, education has been key. That means that the development of knowledge should be supported actively, and that should be done not only by government, but it should be done by the combination of government and business. The available knowledge institutions should get help from both government, but also from businesses, to speed up the process as much as possible of educating the people in a specific area or region. And my experience is that the combination of those three in any country developing is the best way forward to secure welfare, but also well-being. So for me, education is the key point, and it should be supported by both government as well as business, because it's profiting them both.
Thank you, Gerard, and thank you, Duke, for the question. We have 2 hands up, and I also see there's a text message. So please, we'll ask everybody to be very concise when they're asking the questions, so that we can have time to respond to them. Gideon, over to you. Please be concise. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Mine is, I support the concept. However, I'm just actually surprised on now what happens to the concept of globalization, where you wanted everything to be centralized so that manufacturing can be done at a certain place. So how do you now move away from that concept? Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, to be honest, I don't think that global industries really want to be centralized and want to be local. But I think if you look around what's happening in the world, both in terms of war and geopolitics, I think the current situation makes it extremely realistic that continents are, and that's what you see on the political level, that continents are actively promoting protectionism a lot more. The whole concept of the global free trade, which has been around us for about 30, 40 years, is step by step dying away. And that's not because we as humans or global industry want it, but it is the reality of political life as we have it at the moment. The geopolitical war is going on actively between the US, China, and Europe is forced to change its behavior. And as a region who is more a consumer than a producer, the only answer we have is to start making stuff ourselves. And so the global change, which have been the value change, which have been around for 20, 30 years, they are in fact disrupted, as you know. And specifically the regions which have been very dependable on this global trade, they are hurt most. So the obvious strategy moving forward is to start regionalizing and start localizing your supply chains again. And that's what you see happening in the chips industry, in the food industry, in several industries. So the concept which we used to have on global free trade, that has been moving away. And again, not because we as humans want that, but because of the current actual realistic situation in geopolitics is that we are required to do so.
Thank you very much, Gerard. I see that Olawale has put his hand down, so perhaps his question we'll ask later. But we have two quick comments before we wrap up today. Comment from Sam De Vries. He says, in food, there are initiatives like true pricing, but all targeted on civilians for awareness. Shouldn't this responsibility also be shifted towards the manufacturing parties? And will law help him to achieve that, like CSRD in the Netherlands? But because of time, because our time indeed is up, perhaps we could send the question over. Olawale, I see you are back. Unfortunately, our time is up. I would please ask you to put the question in the text box so that we can send to Gerard and he can send an answer to you. And also another comment from Nico Viljoens, which says economic growth should be key as well, as it do not help educating people without economic growth. And that is from Elaine. Is that Elaine or Nico? I see Nico, but Elaine, I guess. Olawale, again, apologies because of time. It's already 8:53, and we promised that this would end exactly 8:53. I will not leave without telling you about next week's program, which we will be talking about leadership. And leadership is also about winning hearts, and that will be presented by Olatunji Strobody. So we look forward to seeing everybody there next week. But for now, it is time to say goodbye and good morning to everybody. Have a nice cup of coffee and have a wonderful day as you start your day after Good Morning BSN. Thank you very much.